What's up, YouTube? You're here with Josh Bailey. Listen, today we're in the kitchen. Why we're in the kitchen? Because you can't out-train a bad diet. So today, I want to give you guys a lot of information. I was on a call with my clients last week and I was talking about high glycemic foods versus low glycemic foods, and people didn't really know what that was. So not only am I gonna go over the information and show you guys what that actually is, I'm gonna cook a meal prep that you can actually make, and it's gonna be more of a low glycemic based type of prep. So all these foods are healthy, one ingredient. I got my spices over here that I'm gonna season everything with, and this meal is gonna be amazing. But first, let me ask you something. Have you ever eaten something and then had less energy than you did before? Started feeling sluggish, your energy levels just went down, like you crashed. And I wanna show you why that's happening. So here are two potatoes. Both break down differently. This is a sweet potato, this is a russet potato. This is considered more of a high glycemic food. This is considered more of in the middle, can be low glycemic depending on how you cook it. Now, let me give you the GI levels of low, medium, and high glycemic foods. A low glycemic food has a GI index of 55 or less, okay? A medium glycemic food has an index of 56 to 69. Now, the highest GI index is 70 or more, and that's where you find these russet potatoes. So I want you guys to understand what happens when you eat glycemic foods. First thing you need to know, it breaks down rapidly into glucose, causing blood sugar spikes. This is why you have energy, and then you start to feel sluggish sometimes because it spikes, and then it drops. Now, if you continue to eat high glycemic foods, these things will also start to happen. It will force the pancreas to release more insulin. Number two, repeated blood sugar spikes from high GI foods can trigger higher insulin levels, which causes the body to retain more sodium and water, which increases blood pressure. Number three, diets refined in high carbs and sugars also promote weight gain and inflammation, both which is a risk factor of hypertension. And number four, people who consume a lot of high glycemic foods are also likely to develop metabolic syndrome, which includes high blood pressure, high blood sugar, and belly fat. So guys, here are a few tips that can help you control this. Start pairing your carbs with proteins and fats. This will help with slow digestion and prevent insulin spikes. Start eating fiber-rich foods. This will help you stay full longer compared to high glycemic foods, which increases your appetite and makes you want to eat more. Stay away from high starchy foods, things like bread, potatoes, rice. It depends on when you eat them. Not all of them are bad, but I'll put a list below that'll help you understand all the foods that I'm talking about. And lastly, I'll say stay away from refined carbs, breads, cereals, sodas, things that you don't think they add calories, but they're super high in sugar and really will spike your insulin levels and make you crash and just continue to put on fat. So let me introduce you to the food that we're gonna make today. So we're gonna start off with a lean ground turkey. All right, 93.7, lean protein is always the key. All right, protein first. Next, we have our peppers. All right, got peppers, onions. This is gonna just add some flavor and color to the meal. Next, we have our squash, zucchini. This is the main portion. All right, these are non-starchy vegetables. It's gonna really help you control those blood sugar levels. Then we have our sweet potatoes. So as I told you before, it's how you make them. So if you boil them, they'll be in the low glycemic range. I don't necessarily like them boiled, so I'm gonna bake them, which is in the medium, but it's up to you. If you like boiled potatoes, do it. It'll have more of an effect compared to baking them or whatever other way you're gonna cook them. Lastly, I have parsley, which is gonna add a little bit more to the meal. You can also use spinach, but I'm gonna go with parsley today. So you guys ready? Let's get started. So we're gonna prepare the potatoes first. I like to put mine on 425. All right, let that preheat and get ready. You always wanna start with the potatoes because it's gonna take the longest. So what I would do next, you gotta wash them off. Okay, wash off your potatoes. These are at the store, you don't know what they put on them. Just make sure they're clean before you start putting on your cutting board, stuff like that. I also know if you boil these with the skin on it, it's supposed to be more healthier, right? So you can actually boil these with the skin on, but we're not gonna use skin today. I'm just telling you guys what you could do, and it all depends on how you like your food. And even if I was to roast these potatoes, right, whatever I do with them, as long as I pair them with other foods, it doesn't spike insulin levels. So it just depends on how you eat them. And then again, I train every day, so I'm actually using my glucose. I'm not just sitting still and letting food just pile up. So another thing, if you're training, working out, really sometimes high glycemic index foods can actually help you, especially when you're feeling low energy and you need a spike, you need some energy to get going right away. It can also be a benefit. So first thing I do is peel my potatoes. I use this wide peeler. It's much easier than the other one. I don't know if you guys know about the other one. Not sure the exact name, but this one is much easier. All right, nice and smooth. I peel mine. Make sure everything is off. Now for the cutting, if you guys know, presentation means a lot. And I like my food to look good, so I usually cut mine in half. All right, then I cut it again in the middle. From here, I cut this again, cut this. So I get 4 out of that 1/2. Cut in the middle. So all of these in half, and then I cut until I get nice small cubes. Now, one of the reasons I like mine in small cubes is because I want them to cook faster. So the smaller your pieces are, the faster they're gonna cook. Now, these are not like super small, but if you take a baked potato, well, you make this as a baked potato, usually it's gonna take you a lot longer to cook. So I like to cut mine small, and also just like what I'm making, this has to go in the bottom of the bowl. Meal prep, it can be a bowl, meal prep, whatever you wanna do, you can make this and eat it how you want, but just watch how I do it. So now we're gonna dress up our sweet potatoes. So I use a little bit of oil. Why do I use oil? Because I want the seasoning and things that I use to stick. Cinnamon is key. Superfood, smells great, tastes great. All right, you can't go wrong with cinnamon. So put as much cinnamon as you want. I make sure everything is covered. A little bit of salt. All right, a little bit of salt here. This is not really to get a salty taste, it's just to balance the taste. And I have some brown sugar. You can use agave, you can use honey, you can use maple syrup, whatever you want. You don't have to put a lot. I sprinkle it on here just to enhance the sweetness of the potato, because sweet potato is already sweet, but when you start like, you know, baking it and eating it with stuff, you notice that it's not that sweet. That's why when you go to a restaurant, they always give you sides to go with the sweet potato, right? So rub it all together. As you can see, there's a lot of potatoes in here, so the little bit of sugar that I put on it enhances the taste, but it's not really that bad. All right, you can see the bottom here. Mix it all around. So now what we're gonna do, once all of your potatoes are coated, add some foil. Why do I add foil? It increases moisture, all right? When you cover something, it allows it to cook a little bit faster compared to you cooking it without something on top. It'll just take you a little bit longer. So I like mine to cook fast. You know, put some foil on it if you want. You know, if you want it to get a little bit of air, something you can also do, poke holes in it. Let it breathe just a little bit. And then I put this on the top shelf for at least 40 to 50 minutes, all right? Check on it, you'll see. Now, it's time for the produce. What do we want to start with? All right, the onions, the peppers, we're gonna let these cook first. Now, I've already washed them off. Now, what I want to do with these, I want nice cubes, okay? I want to see these. You can also make them, you can make them small, but if you're going for aesthetic, like, but I want you guys to actually see the food and be like, yo, that looked good. And that really happens to, you know, the way that you cut your peppers and stuff like that. So I'm gonna cut them into cubes, just like I cut the sweet potatoes, kind of similar. All right, I have yellow, red peppers, I have orange pepper, and if you guys know, peppers all have different flavors. So the green one is the most, I'd say the most bitter, but it's the most popular. All right, these ones are a little bit sweeter. So you have sweeter peppers. And to be honest, I just need some color here. So peppers, we have a red onion. All right, red onion has a stronger taste. All right, I don't actually, you have the sweet onion, then you have the yellow onion. This onion is, like you put this on like sandwiches more. This is more of a stronger taste. So we're gonna use this one too. I want to taste these peppers. I want these flavors to really hit, but also add color to the bowl. So these also on the low glycemic side. We talk about different things. So let's say if I was to add starchy vegetables, those like say carrots, stuff like that. Is it healthy? It is. You can always eat this kind of stuff. It just has a different, like it's not serving what we need today, right? But these peppers are low glycemic. And I think you should always add peppers to your food because it really adds to the meal. So peppers for the win today, and we're gonna cook these first. But before I actually dice these and put them in the pan, I have this beautiful, frying pan from Caraway. They gifted me with this whole set. It's really really amazing. The quality is nice, it's heavy, durable, luxury look. Black, I got to pick my color, but they have all type of colors. I just like the black, it just looks luxurious. And I always wear black for some reason, I don't know. I like dark colors. So we're gonna heat that up, get that going, put that on medium heat. We're gonna cut these up into cubes, and then we're gonna add our zucchini. The thing you wanna do is add this before you add the meat, right? Let this cook, let it simmer, let it get soft. Then I'm gonna take it out, and then I'm gonna add the meat, and then put it all in together, all right? Let's get this going because it's gonna take me a few minutes. So all our peppers ready to go. Peppers and onions ready to go. I use avocado oil. If any of you guys wonder why I switched over, I used to use a lot of olive oil, and avocado oil is better for searing, right? This controls the smoke point. So if you guys wanna sear a steak or chicken and you don't want all that smoke and you know the whole house getting smoky, you wanna use avocado oil, that's what it's for. So I just switched over more to that. Olive oil is more for cold stuff. Now, I preheated this, right? Now I put oil in it first. I don't put too much oil now. You don't need a lot of oil. This is all I have, okay? Now this is for the meat, the veggies, everything, right? Low heat. Now let's add it all in. When it hits the pan, it should sound just like that. That's how you know you preheat it properly. Now we're gonna add our zucchini. Okay, I made these a little bit bigger. I want these big. They're gonna shrink. It looked large when I did it. You can see it already cooked down, and I want everything to get soft. So green, guys, green is better. I wanna actually see my veggies and taste them. Zucchini shrinks very small, and they can get what we call, I think of the word I'm looking for, but I would say transparent, right? Transparent zucchini can get really transparent, which means it almost looks invisible. So you don't want these super soft. You want this to cook and still have a nice crunch to it. That's why I added these last, and they're not gonna cook as long. So we're gonna add some seasoning to this. Salt. I know, you said, Josh, that's a lot of salt. This has to salt all of this, right? Salt is not bad for you. What's bad for you is when you eat salt, like foods super high in sodium that's already kind of like, how do you say it, like packaged or put together. Salt is good for you. A little bit of pepper. All right, I never skip my veggies, never. Like I eat veggies with everything. I think it's probably, it's what completes the meal. So you eat protein, you eat carbs, but you skip veggies. You're missing a lot. You're missing a lot if you skip veggies. So for this, I'm gonna let this cook down, mix it up. I'm gonna put the top on it, and I'm gonna come back in like 5 minutes, see what it looks like, and it should be good to go. All right, guys, on this channel, we don't sacrifice flavor. So let me show you how to make the meat. All right, put it in the bowl. If you guys don't know, you should know. All right, you got the J. Bailey's all-purpose seasoning. I actually don't need any other seasonings except for this, but I wanna show you how to make it even more enhanced. So I'm gonna season it well. All right, you got the colors in there. Now I like to add all of these different things. A little bit of garlic powder, some onion powder, all right, a little bit of chili powder, and some smoked paprika. Tad bit of avocado oil, and let's mix it all in. And for the finishing touches, we're gonna add our parsley. All right, when you cook with herbs and different stuff, adds a totally different flavor to the food. So once that's all mixed in, we're gonna now separate. We're gonna take out the veggies, add the meat, and then we're gonna put both of them together. And sweet potatoes are almost done. So in general, this meal prep only takes you 1 hour, all right, for the whole week of eating healthy meals. So it's time to put the meat in. Took all the veggies out, and as you can see, all the juices are there, all right? You don't gotta add more oil. You're gonna cook it right in this, already seasoned, and we're gonna let this simmer. And like I said, add everything again together. All right, so I turned the heat up a little bit. We're gonna just let this cook down. And once we come back, we're gonna put the bowls together, and I'm excited to try this. So everything is done. Now it's time to put it together. You guys wanna know, I said I never count my food, right? I don't count like my macros. But what I do is I always use the same measurements. So I have a cup of sweet potatoes. This is how I do all of my food. So it's like if I have to track it, I actually know what I ate every time because I use the same measurements every time I prep the food. All right, so I mix it all together, and I would say the only downside of this is not being able to count the protein accurately. So if you want to do the protein first and then do the veggies, you can do that, but I just wanted to mix everything together. So let's add all of these up. It looks like we have enough. All right, now you can see a lot of juices in the bottom of this. All right, a lot of juice. This will be something we add maybe towards the end, you know, depending on how much you want in it. I necessarily would add just a few, like a tablespoon, but I don't need to, you know, I can use sauces and stuff like that, but this will be too much to add to the whole meal. Your food will be swimming. So that's why I'm using this kind of spoon to get the juices out. All right, make it optional. All right, guys, so here it is. The easy, low glycemic type of meal prep that you can eat that will reduce cravings and reduce spiking your insulin levels. What I would do with this, if I was eating, I would put maybe some pecans because I love pecans with sweet potatoes. You can make your own sauce out of yogurt. I love Yum Yum sauce, but it's not the healthiest thing to eat every single day. You can make a yogurt-based Yum Yum sauce where you can make it just like the regular one from the store, but more nutritious. And I will put that on it before eating. The thing is, people put a lot of stuff on the meal prep that doesn't necessarily go in the microwave. So you have to think about that. You can top this any way you want, but it has to be microwavable because this is the easy, healthy fast food. And before we leave, I wanna introduce you, if you haven't seen them yet, my spices. All right, this is the all-purpose seasoning. You have the spicy flavor, also the mild flavor. All right, depends on which one you like, but they're all good. Based off the same ingredients, just one a little bit more spicy than the other. I'll put the link in the description below so you can start using this on your food immediately. So I hope this video helped you get a better understanding of high glycemic versus low glycemic foods. Again, I'll put a list of foods that are low glycemic in the description below. And guys, if you need this, come back to this video, make this recipe, share it with a friend. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. And keep coming back, guys, because we're gonna keep getting better and get 1% better every single day. All right, guys, you're here with the Muscle Chef, AKA Josh Bailey, fitness instructor, chef. I just wanna see you guys get healthier, live longer, and feel better. See you next time.